Welcome back. So, this is a video from, this is a ring from a little while ago. You can see that I'm still in my old place. There's a metric ton of dust on everything, and this ring that I'm making, while riddled with mistakes while making it, did end up being a ring in the end. So, I am very precisely trying to get to a certain range of ring size. I'm trying to get it to roughly 7.5. It takes a few passes, and that's fine. And if you stumble upon this channel and you're like, why is this guy using using a metal lathe for pieces of wood? It's because I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that what I'm doing is working. There's a decent chance that I'm going to have to learn how to clean one of these lathes sooner than later, but that is something else that I get to learn. But as you can see, I sort of use two spinning objects directly next to each other and then put my finger directly in a spinning object that could easily rip my finger off if something gripped wrong. So I live stupidly and dangerously, but it's kind of cool. So I'm using super glue to finish the inside pretty early, and the inside goes relatively smoothly without a hitch. I don't know what kind of wood this is. I cut it off of an old table leg that I found at a scrap store. It's super, super pretty, and when I picked up the wood, I knew that it wasn't, I know it's absolutely not oak, it's not walnut. That sort of deep brownish red. I'll say the word mahogany, knowing full damn well that I don't know what mahogany looks like. But it's mahogany color. And in warp speed, that's one side of the inside of the ring done. Now, flipping it over, I put something that's flat next to something. I do this. I can register the ring to be as relatively flat as possible and be very careful tightening it. And now I can work on the other side. Eventually. There we go. And as you can see, it's got a little bit of wobble to it. It's wood, and precision isn't super important. It's only mildly important. But among other things, that speaking of stupid, reviewing this, I don't do this anymore. I don't operate the camera like that while the lathe is on and my fingers touching it, and I'm supposed to be focusing on multiple things. Yeah, watching back at this, that made my stomach clench. I wasn't thinking of my butthole clenching. But yeah, at 8 times speed, you can see that the lathe has a very specific turning radius, and I love that. Yeah, so once I'm satisfied with it, I go all the way through all the grits that I feel that I need to. And when you hit it with super glue and the finish soaks in there, it's pretty nice. And of course it gets polished up until it feels like soft and nice on the inside. But here's another thing. I couldn't get the ring to just sit evenly, and I was trying to spin it and just very gently, past Adrian makes silly mistakes. Current Adrian makes active, smart mistakes. I needed to take the ring mandrel and loosen it up a bit. Everything was fine. And now that it's loosened, it registers nicely. And I'm still trying to make it sit nice, but it's already sitting fine. And just like when you put the jaws, when you close the jaws on a piece of wood, opening or tightening the ring mandrel is just as sort of scary an operation, where one turn a little bit too much and you have just ruined the last dangerous amount of work that you did. Almost pointless, but I enjoy doing it. I make the outer diameter circular for almost no reasons. Also, I might be sounding like I'm saying words like diameter and enjoying doing and things like that. I've been listening to a lot of Blondie hacks on YouTube. She's amazing. She's a machinist and actually knows how to use these tools, but I have clearly absorbed some of her lingo, and I suggest that you go watch a really cool machinist on YouTube. So, just like the inside, sand the outside. And if you're wondering why this ring is almost done, and maybe I don't have it in the thumbnail, why is there still 10 more minutes of video? Because I am not smart. It's because it's a learning process. Everything's a learning process. It's all fine. Sanding the outside until I'm happy with it, and then hit that with finish. That's the same order of operations on the inside are the same order of operations on the outside, and it's a little less scary, to be perfectly honest. I'm also moved into my new house, and I'm currently working on getting the garage working and making sure that an operation that I need on my foot is not an emergency operation, and I get to choose when it happens. So it's slow going, but that's why you're getting this video, because I found it in my archives of stuff. It's so pretty. The chatoyance on that is awesome. It's just, I love it. It's table leg. It's table leg wood. This is a table leg ring. That might be the name of this video. Who knows? But one coat of super glue, another coat of super glue, sand it, another coat of super glue, buff it. And if you play your cards right and you switch between fine sandpapers and just buffing it with a paper towel when you've gone through your highest sandpaper, the ring is so smooth it feels soft and it's very nice. So I'm cutting a channel for a piece of wire. And in this case, this is still a little earlier in my exploration. So I'm much more gentle, and I'm trying to be very careful with not going too far. But clearly that guitar wire is much thicker than the point of that tool. And the point of this tool is to make videos. Anyway, I go back and forth over and over. I think I have it where it's a nice place, and I go to put it in, and unlike copper, guitar string kind of, it doesn't really want to sit there. It can very easily bend itself out. Try again. Now if I just hold it and I don't do anything, I can spray with activator, and the super glue is kicking, and nope, you immediately yeeted out of any chance of success on that try. If I just scratch it off, I think I can do it. Nope. All right, so this is happening between every attempt. I go in, I get rid of the glue, I completely wasted all the work that I did making the ring nice and pretty and soft. And we try again. Third time's the charm. Third time resembles a charm. Let's be honest. It takes as long as it takes. So this time, I hated that it turned the super glue bright white, but it worked. It worked pretty quick. Not just because the video is sped up. I was starting to feel like this was going to happen, and I could just sand all that out, and everything would be good. So same thing. Keep your hand in the way. Awesome. Super glue your fingers to what you're working on. Not yet, but soon. So a little super glue all the way around. I use this little sculpting or dental tool or whatever the hell that is. It's not a knife. It's definitely not a knife. And I use that to keep it pressed down while the super glue is activating. And I don't know, yeah, I didn't show it, but I definitely soaked the whole thing in thin super glue. Not my channel if there's not a hand file. One day that will not happen. Today is not that day. So I'm just trying to sand it down. And I take the onus of not trying to use the precision tool and just do it by hand. Let it go and I'll be fine. And it's not. That channel is too shallow. It's not wide enough. And that wire is sproingy. And it decided to sproing instead of stay. And I decided I wasn't going to have that. Goodbye guitar wire. I will try it again another time. Clean it up. Clean it all the way up. And once the glue is off, I make the executive decision to use probably my favorite metal, which is copper. And you can see me actively putting super glue putting my finger where super glue goes. Not saying English correctly, but doing that. So plenty of glue, plenty of time. Not pictured here is me also soaking this in super glue again. And just being a little more patient. You can see that tool doesn't really stick to the super glue too bad, which is good because I didn't really account for that. And we try again. The file is pointed towards me because that's how the teeth cut. When the lathe is turning towards you, the backside is going up, so you need the teeth to go down so that it does its job. This does take a decent amount of time, and since doing that, I've learned that I can do this, but it's not ideal. Two, I can do it by hand and get it much closer. Things are going great. And then they're not. I wasn't going to abandon this one, though. I felt like I could recover it. And past Adrian stuck with it. So, good on him. Just squishing the glue down until it sticks. Slipping because you are a slippery... Anyway, this ends up working out. I wasn't great, and I'm still not very good at connecting the wire ends at the end, but I kind of like that this looks rounded and almost intentional. So I'm very, very lightly going in with that hand file. None of this is me pressing hard. I decided to keep two spinning objects as far away from each other as possible after that. And then everything else by hand. Sand through all the super glue that you put on it. And make it as nice as you can, because once the last of the finish goes on, you are not really going to get it again. Or you're not going to get a chance to clean up any like the sort of white splotches, etc., if you just put a final finish on top of it. Copper and wood is very pretty. I'm pretty dang happy with how this ring ended up. But as you can see, I pretty much didn't need to finish the outside of the ring at all in the first 4 minutes of this. It was unnecessary. But I go back and forth between every grit at a speed that is completely natural and not sped up at all. That's just how fast my crackhead hands move. And now it's more or less ready for the final finish. You can still see some super glue on there, but I'm just cleaning it up a little bit, make sure the super glue likes to stick, and bam, the finish is on. I kind of spared you from having to watch another round of it being polished, but with sandpaper, I will not, however, spare you from it being polished with micro mesh, or it getting stuck on my finger. Got fat pinkies. It did come out nice. One of these days I'll make sure I get the very concentric striations around the ring. One of these days I'll get those to be a little bit nicer. Also, not pictured here, I knocked down that sharp edge with Micromesh 2 just because I've scratched myself with the ring edge. It doesn't matter if it's wood or metal, it's not fun. But I hit my size 8 ring almost on the dot. The person that I gave this to, they were happy with it. This was not sold. It was just given as this was more or less a practice ring with scrap that I had lying around. And they liked it, I'm pretty sure. Almost positive that they enjoyed a round piece of wood with a pretty piece of metal. Because that's literally all it is. But yeah, Micromesh. Micromesh is another secret. No, it's not secret. It's just it gets a sort of a nicer finish than sandpaper alone. Even the super fine sandpapers, I don't really find it gives me what I want. Micromesh tends to give me what I want out of the feel of the ring. This does also scrape off almost all of the super glue from the metal, but not all the super glue from the wood. You can kind of see that it's cutting through a little bit more than I want, so I go back, I add more, I buff with a fine one, and just like that, I've talked for 17 straight minutes, and I remember nothing that I've said. It's a very pretty ring, though, and I'm happy with it. Things to improve on in the future? Sure. Things to improve on later? Or did I improve on things later? I did. I would say that I learned plenty after this ring was made. But I'd like to thank you for watching, and if you like it, subscribe. If you don't like it, you don't have to like it. No one's forcing you to do nothing. You do whatever you want with your own time. But I appreciate it if you made it this far, and you listened to all of that nonsense. Bye! Excuse me, you did the bye too early. We're gonna have you take that again. No? Okay. Fine.